Ciao, jewelry makers. I'm Joey Balistreri, and I am doing another video with our December 2023 Sparkling Snowfall collection. And I just loved this box. And so if you didn't see the first video that I did using this month's box, I can link it below. It was a really beautiful, like, swag necklace. It kind of looks like draperies in a formal parlor, and it was really fun, really beginner friendly project. So I'll link that below. And so I have two smaller projects that I think one is pretty straightforward and kind of just a fun basic bracelet using some of the beautiful bits in this box. And the other one is a really like 4-in-1 pair of earrings. But before I get started on my work today, I am just so excited because just a few minutes ago, I hit 1,000 subscribers on my channel. And so I just don't even have the words, really. It's amazing. The last 8 weeks, I've been working really, really hard, putting my best foot forward and really trying to put the highest quality that I can muster on my channel. But you guys, all of you, your watching and your comments and your positivity and your support is just absolutely amazing. And I am so excited. This morning, I put the entire giveaway box together and packed it. And so this afternoon, I'm going to go to the video that I made the announcement on and choose the winner at random using a digital tool. So if you are watching this and you have not seen that, be sure to go over to that. It's a jewelry try on and says giveaway, and I will link it below this video, and just leave a comment, one word, a little heart, something you'd like to see from me in the future, and that will enter your name in the drawing for my surprise I'm so excited I can't talk. My 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So every time I turn on the camera, I just want you all to know that I am fully aware that with technology being what it is, you can choose to watch from billions and billions of things. And so if you choose to watch what I'm making and what I'm sharing, I am humbled and honored and so grateful. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Every time I start filming, I'm thinking of giving my very best designs, my best attitude, my best of everything. And I will continue to do that. I'm really committed to that because, as I said, people have so many choices with technology being what it is, and it's a great honor if you choose to watch me and subscribe to me. So I'm going to leave it there, but I'm really excited. I have to settle down and share the project that I plan to film today. I did not expect to meet my 1,000 subscriber goal today. And so anyway, I have to settle down and get started with my work. So this is a little bracelet project, and it's really simple. So I've done a lot of the connecting already, and I'm going to just put that together with you last. And I have a little unique design for the dangle on that bracelet. So we'll do that at the end. But the project that I'm really excited about today is, I would categorize it as a minimalist, chic design, and it is an extremely minimal ear wire that I'm going to make. I've done a couple of them already, but I'll show you what I did. It is an interchangeable earring design. So once you make the ear wire, and I know it looks a bit odd, but it's really cool. It's unique and comfortable and very easy to make. So once you have made this ear wire, then I have created several things that can just come on and off very easily. So if you can see that I have hammered the very end of this wire to sort of splay the end there. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. And so then each of my interchangeable things featuring the most beautiful, well, what I thought was the most beautiful in this month's bargain bead box. So, I love this twist, this crystal twist bead. So I put that on a chain. And as we make the different interchangeable parts, so I did one of each of the bits that are interchangeable, and then we'll do the other one together so I can show you the challenges that I ran into, but I'll just go through the 4 that I've created. I just love this snowflake charm. I mean, these were quite amazing. These are platinum plated brass snowflakes. They are two-sided, but one side seems to have a little bit of a different texture. So on this particular earring, you can slide this on and off whichever side you prefer. So that is 2 interchangeable. Let me scoot my dish so this you can see all 4 pieces. And then I did a little minimalist bar drop with one of those, I call it mermaid glass, but they were calling it in this box moonstone. And so anyway, I just did like a bar that drops with a little spiral that I hammered and just featuring one of those moonstone beads. I hope the camera is picking that up, but look at the flash in this glass. It is stunning and it really stands alone. So that is another little interchangeable option for this earring. And then the last one that I did, and believe me, I could keep going with this. I took some of the apatite beads and the little spacers, and I used a stainless steel ball head pin. And I had to add just, I do not know if you can see, I just added 3 links of the curb chain from the box. And the reason I did that is because the bar was not hanging very well just from this loop. It was a bit too rigid. I didn't like the way it was hanging. So in order to remedy that and have it dangle and be beautiful in its movement, I just took 3 links of that stainless steel chain and added it to the loop. And there we have the 4th one. So this is a really elegant, chic, for the minimalist person in your life or a person that you gift regularly. You could give them the ear wires and then maybe make 2 changes for it, and then over time add to their collection as you acquire beads and charms and things that they might like. So I'm really excited about this pair of earrings, and I'm going to make one of each of these so I can talk to you about the challenges that I ran into, and just it's pretty simple. But if you're going to try this project, it's nice that someone already, made the mistakes and figured out the problems and remedied them for you. We will start by making another ear wire together. And this is not difficult at all. You will need a hammer and a bench block in order to create this. So if you don't have those things, this might be a bit of a challenge. I think you could still modify the design if you are not a person with a hammer and a bench block. Instead of flattening and splaying this end, which is the stopper on this ear wire, you could do a little spiral. You could use some E6000 glue and glue a bead, just a little silver spacer bead on the end of the wire as your stopper. So you could modify this design in many different ways if you don't like the hammered idea. So, those are just some options, but I'm going to do the hammering. I just think it looks really chic and it is very minimalist. It has a little bit of an organic shape. So the way that I did this is a piece of 20 gauge round medium temper German style wire, and I'm just going to warm it and smooth it a little bit between my fingers. And I used my stepped bail making plier for this part, and I used the largest section, the largest on the mandrel of this plier. And I took a longer piece of wire than I would need, just so that I'm not fighting with the ends, and it gives me a little bit of leverage to make my round shape. So that's all I'm going to do, is hold on to the handle really tightly and just form that wire into that perfect circle. And if you don't have bail making pliers, you could use a ring mandrel for this, or anything you have that's a good round shape that you can use to form this wire. So once I have done that circle, There is a hair. I don't know if it's mine or my kitty cat. Once you have done the perfect circle, then you can just come in and right about in the middle, just do 2 clean cuts there. And so now, save those little scraps. So now I have this perfect little wire, and I'm going to use this earring to match it to. So I'm going to, let me open this one out just a tiny bit. When you hammer, you know, it's not going to be a totally perfect match to the other earring. So it's not necessary that this be exact, but I'm going to make sure it's the same length and that my opening is the same before I start hammering. So at this point, it looks something like that. So I have my bench block here and my chasing hammer, and I'm going to pause the camera because I don't want to pound in your ear, but I am simply, before I won't actually do it, I will save your ears, but I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to choose one of the sides and being careful not to hit my fingers or this other side, and I also don't want to come too far up on the ring. I am simply going to hammer. So I'm doing it very lightly. I'm going to have to pause the camera and give it a little bit more pressure, but I do both sides and just keep hammering until I have splayed or completely flattened this enough that it will stop a bead. So let me pause and do that, and then I'll show you what has to be done to the end after you have flattened that out. So I'll be right back. So I have done my hammering and I have this end flattened out like a paddle. And so the next step is to check it for sharpness, because sometimes when you flatten a piece of wire, in fact, pretty much every one that I've done, I really had to deal with a really sharp edge. So I use this little file that came in a tool set of reamers, but you could also use a bit of sandpaper, a memory board. Vintage Paints makes a little buffing block that you buff paint off of the surface of metal. That works as well. But even an emery board or a regular metal nail file. And I just want to round out that paddle that I made and smooth it and just make sure there is nothing sharp that's going to cut or irritate anyone's skin. And so that feels pretty good and it looks great. So the next thing is this end that is going to go in the ear. That's blunt cut, it's sharp. So I have this little bead alon bead reamer, and I doubt if you'll be able to see, but it has a little cup at the end of this tool. And again, I have this tool, as one of our sweet viewers was mentioning in one of my after one of my videos, that she's a toolaholic, and I am too. So I am going to use this tool because I have it. But there again, if you don't have it, you can still make your own ear wires by using a metal file, a bit of sandpaper, any kind of a gritty sanding block. You just don't want to have anything that's going to be sharp or irritating. But I love this tool because this wire, this little cup at the end, fits right over the end of the wire, and it's a little bit far away from my face because of the camera, but I can just go around and just make it so that it's not super sharp. And it just has a little battery in there and it works really well. So yeah, and I'm just like one of our sweet viewers, a toolaholic. I had to have it. So yeah, that little ear wire is ready. And so now the thing, what I did is I made some of my earring, my interchangeable earring drops ahead of time so that I could check. Because if you don't splay this flat enough, then you will really struggle with the loop that needs to be made on your drops, because they'll slide right off. So I want to check and make sure that I flattened it enough and made enough of a paddle that my interchangeable pieces are not going to come off. I don't have any problem with the chains, but on the drops where I had to turn a loop, this is a very, very, very tiny loop because I was only using 20 gauge wire. So you're only going to be able to get a certain amount of width from hammering on 20 gauge wire. So that is a really beautiful little minimalist earring. And also what I will do, I was just reaching behind me, is put these with it. I've tried these on, and because of the design, because of the way the circle is, they really stay in your ear without coming out. But if you're making these and you're giving them as a gift, you can also just put one of these little silicone earring backs on the back of them, and that makes a really pretty gift and kind of finishes it off. So I have a couple of those. I have a little jar of those here that I will use. So let's make some of these drops together. We'll start with this little snowflake. And so I am just taking another little piece of that 20 gauge wire, the same wire that I've used for everything. And as you know, if you've watched any of my other work, I really like this one-step looper. And for this one, I use the 1.5 millimeter. And while it's still in the tool, I just pull that wire down a little bit and just make sure that loop is centered on the wire, and remove the tool, and going to just tidy up that loop, work harden it a little bit, and I'm going to add one of these small 4 millimeter AB crystals that came in the box onto that wire and make another loop. I love those crystals with the snowfall idea. Oh, let me stop talking and just show you. When I'm working with this tool and a crystal, I just back off a little bit before I close the tool, if you can see, and go slowly. And then while it's still in the tool, I'll just bend it a little bit, which just centers that loop right on the bead and on the wire. And so we have this perfect little component. And this earring is literally done after we connect our other snowflake. And I started to say, I really love those 4 millimeter bicone crystals with the AB finish to go with the snowflakes, because it just looked like ice to me. It had a very wintry. So this part of our interchangeable earring is complete. We have those two done. And if you want to, you can check each one that you've made. They look so much alike. I don't know which one I made. If the loop is too big, I kind of hope it is so I can show you how to fix it. Perfect. So that loop was a little bit too big, and I did have to do this on some of my interchangeable pieces. It is no problem to fix it. Let me get one of my sharper cutters, and I'm going to take the flat side of my flush cutter and come in and remove. You see where I'm at? Just remove a little piece of that loop. And then I like to use my really small Xuron pliers when I need to make a tiny loop. And I'm just going to put those in and make that loop smaller. Just close it and make it a little bit smaller. Straighten it out a little bit. And since I want to make sure it doesn't slide off, make sure it's nice and closed. Now we can go back to our earring and make sure that it's going to, and now we've corrected that. So if you need to make a smaller loop for the splaying that you did, that is how. It's very simple, easy fix. And so yeah, it's nice to have the earring ready so you can check it as you make your earrings. So which one shall we do next? Let's do this one with the apatite. So I had purchased these stainless steel ball head pins. They match the curb chain that came in the box really well. They match it perfectly. So I'm just going to string this little pattern onto this ball head pin. I did 3 apatite and then a spacer, 3 apatite and then a spacer, because I wanted to have that little metal presence in between, and I wanted this to be a vertical bar. I always see bars as minimalist and very contemporary, and it is a style of jewelry, if you've watched my other videos, that I experiment with all the time, and I just think it's so chic and elegant, and for me, I don't tire of it. Where other styles will come and go rather quickly from my jewelry wardrobe, this, in any type of minimalist, any type of clean lines, I tend to wear them for a really long time and constantly circle back to them, even in creating. So this was just a simple create the pattern and string it on a ball head pin. And once again, I'm going to come in with my one-step looper, and remembering that these are little faceted apatite crystals, so take your time, back off of there so that you don't break any of your beads. And I like to pull it back and get it nice and straight while it's still in the tool if the head pin wasn't perfectly straight. And so this one I know will also need to be made a little bit smaller. So, oh, actually I added the chain to it. We can still make it a tiny bit smaller, but I did add the chain, so it's not necessary on this one. I had forgotten. When I first made it, I just wanted it to be a vertical bar, just a downward facing bar, but it was so rigid hanging from the earring that I started to look at modifications, and I decided that I was going to add that tiny little section of chain. And so let me open this up. I have a pile of tools on the side of my table. So I decided that I was going to just add this little bit of chain, and it really solved the problem. It was not hanging well. And when I did this, I just loved the way this contemporary bar was hanging from the necklace. And it's not difficult to adjust it. And the reason I settled on 3 links, I don't know if it's going to show on the camera, but the first link and the second links do stay a bit rigid when you hang the bar, but that third one really gives the movement. So that worked out perfectly if you're going to try to do these exactly as I did. So that is our second conversion for this earring. And then the third one we will do is the other piece that I used with chain, and this is so simple. Those beads for me just stand alone. These gorgeous crystal twist beads in this iris, they are just a slate blue iris, I think it was called. They are just stunning, and they just stand alone. So I simply put those by themselves on the same stainless steel head pin and just made a simple loop. Same thing, I just bend it back while it's in the tool so that my loop is centered on that wire. And here's the little piece of chain. I might need to open it just a bit more. The only challenging part with these twist beads is they also twist in your hand. Okay, and just want to make sure to close your loops really well. I mean, always, as always, but I'm saying that because this chain is so fine. It's stainless steel, but it is really fine. And then I know this won't slide off, but then this becomes another interchangeable earring drop, a little bit more formal. Put my hand under it. It's simple, but lovely and elegant. So for the last one, I am going to use another piece of the same 20 gauge wire that I used for everything. And as you can see, the last one is super simple. We're going to do this, and it just requires that piece of wire and one of these little moonstone beads with the amazing flash in it. So normally I would have done both of these at the same time so that I wouldn't have to worry about the length of my wire or my spirals matching. It's better to do them at the same time. But because I was making samples preparing for the video, I didn't do that with my, I think I did cut the wire, but it got mixed in with another part of this project. So what I'm going to do is start out by doing that simple loop at the top. And this is one that we know we will have to make that loop a little bit smaller because we've already tested this 1.5 millimeter loop on our ear wire and it's too big. And I'm taking a minute to really warm this wire and straighten it because this is a bar earring, a vertical drop, vertical bar. And so this wire really needs to be nice and straight to start off with. It looks pretty good, but because the bar on this interchangeable drop is going to be a really focal point, I just want to make sure it is super straight and my loop is nice and centered on that wire. And now I'm going to mess up that loop because I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So there again, just like we did on the other one, I'm going to use the flat side of my cutter and just remove probably about half of the loop and just close it again with my small Xuron pliers. Just make it really small. I'm gonna center it again. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it close to my face so I can see what I'm doing and then you can't see. Just get that loop really nice and small. Okay, and then before I add my bead, I am going to drop to the ear wire. Before I add my bead, I am going to make sure that it stays, and it does. It's perfect. And so very simply, I'm going to add on this bead. And now, since I didn't do these at the same time, I'm going to be guessing a little bit about the spiral. So let me sort of make my best guess about the length of it. I only did 2 rounds of it, maybe right about there. If I don't get it right, I'll do another pair after the video, but this way you'll at least be able to see the method that I used. So I think on the other one, I wanted a little bit looser, more open spiral. So I'm going to use sort of a little bit further down on my round nose pliers. Just look at my other spiral. I did these last night, the sample ones, so I've already forgotten exactly what I did. As I said, when you're doing 2 pairs of earrings, it's really best to try to do them at the same time. Then you get them the same. I left that center quite open on my other one, which I don't always do. Well, that's pretty close. And I love my bent chain nose pliers for this. Let me just see how far. Maybe another half a turn. And then this was another one where I hammered it. So I'll show you just the movement that I did, but I'll go off camera to do the hammering. It is not exactly like my other spiral. Let me see if I can fix it. Let me see. Yeah, I think once I hammer it, I think it'll be pretty close to the other one. Let me just check the length. Yeah, I got it pretty well. Okay, so there again with, move this out of the way, there again with the bench block. I don't know if the hammering is showing at all. And you don't have to hammer. I just really like the look of it. For some reason in my mind, it goes along with the hammered ends of the ear wire, and it just has that minimalist look for me. So all I did was put it flat. In fact, put it flat. Need a second plier. Somehow I got sideways. Yeah, just make sure it's straight like that, and make sure you don't hammer your bead because your bead is on there. So hang the bead over the edge of the bench block. And then I just came in with my chasing hammer and flattened it and went to the other side. So I will do that after I stop the video. I'll hammer this one and make it match the other one. So this is our, let me put one on each. This is 4 earrings in one, and featuring, really for me, my favorite beads of the box were these crystal twist beads, these moonstone beads. I love these snowflake charms and the apatite beads and those beautiful little smooth silver rondelle shaped spacers. These were my favorite beads in this box. And so this earring gave me 4 different earrings with one ear wire that I could change the look and depending on what I'm wearing or what my mood is. So I really think this is a fun project. And as I said, how wonderful as a gift to give someone the handmade ear wires and then all the possibilities for the different earrings they can make. So I'm going to set this aside, and then we are going to finish my little snowflake bracelet. Let me clean up my mess a bit. And I'll get some pictures taken and put them up on the end of the video so you can really have a good look at that. So here again, another little scrap of that 20 gauge wire. And what I did was use this connector, which for me just screamed bracelet bar. And this is really lovely. It is a laser cut stainless steel 3-section snowflake. I just love it. I think it's lovely. So I wanted to also feature those moonstone beads. And as I said, these 4mm bicones look like ice to me. It just creates a beautiful theme. So all I did was make some components where the moonstone bead was flanked by those little bicone beads and on that same silver wire. And I did about 4 on each side will be the perfect length for me. So we're going to do the last link together and connect it. And the thing I'm going to do the charm out of, we received 2 of these 12mm snowflake cutout links. And I don't want it as a link, I want it as a charm. So I'm going to do a little something to use up that second hole. But let's quickly make this final, oh, here it is. I put it on the opposite side. Let's make this final link together. I used my 1-step looper and just thread it on the very simple pattern, crystal bicone, moonstone, and crystal bicone, and then put it back in the tool. Same thing, always remembering that I'm working with crystals, so I just back off a little bit and I go slowly. So that way, if the crystal slides or anything, I can correct it before I close the tool down. And then, as always, if I feel like it's not perfectly straight or the loops are not lined up, it's nice to do that while it's still in the hole. It gives you, in the tool, it gives you good control. And so this was a simple open that loop like a jump ring and add it onto this side. And I measured with my ruler, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the perfect length for me once I have the clasp, and it is. So that is like the sweetest little bracelet to me. As I said, the more minimal and the more simple a piece is, the longer I am likely to wear it. So I decided that I love these toggle clasps. I use them on my necklace that I did with the box this month, but I felt like it was just a little bit too big, not petite enough for this bracelet bar. And I had these stainless steel lobster claw clasps in my supplies. So that is what I am going to do. I'm going to use stainless steel jump ring, a quite small one for the lobster, and just put it right onto the last link that we just made. and thread on this lobster claw clasp and close it really well. And then I have a larger stainless steel ring for the lobster claw to clasp onto on this end. And what I decided to do, because I love the way that connector matches the bracelet bar. Oh, I am talking and wanted to keep connecting. Yeah, so I love the way this little laser cut snowflake connector matches the bracelet bar, and it sort of bothered me to have one empty hole. So what I decided to do is make a very tiny spiral. I want my small Xuron, and I also need a flush cut, and I'm just going to make a really small spiral, like the smallest that I can get. Just get it started and switch to my bent chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bend like that. So it's going to be a head pin, so I want to get a hold of it and give it a bend. It's so small, I have to do it with my pliers. There. Because it just sort of bothered me to have an empty hole. And I'm going to thread on one of those little crystals and then just do a simple loop. And I want the simple loop to go this way so it can face forward. My spiral will be facing forward. Just get a hold of it, back it off a little bit, and just put that tiny little simple loop. So it looks like that. It is a very small little charm, and I'm going to open the loop and add it to the bottom hole of this snowflake connector, making it into a snowflake charm. You honestly, you could have used it as a charm, but it just looked unfinished to me to have an empty hole. So what I'm going to do is take this last little small stainless steel jump ring. It matches the one that I used for my lobster claw clasp. And I'm going to attach right here and attach this little snowflake right there. And I just have a little beautiful coordinating charm on the end of this little snowflake bracelet. I love this. I'm probably going to wear this for the rest of the winter. It is so sweet, and I really loved this box this month. It was so, that is so pretty. This box was so full of beautiful things. The colors are like snow and ice and just that icy blue, and it was just beautiful. The snowflake additions were lovely. The moonstone were probably, those and the twist beads were my favorite. I love the apatite. This was a really fun box. I have done a necklace project, interchangeable earrings with 4 possibilities and this bracelet, and I still have a ton of beads left over. So you just cannot beat Bargain Bead Box. And if I could only have one jewelry thing a month, it would be Bargain Bead Box. I could never give that up. I've been getting it for years. So I just want to thank everyone for watching today. And once again, thank you so much for your support and your kindness and for watching my videos and helping me reach my 1,000 subscribers. And I am just overwhelmed and so grateful. I don't have words. I'm repeating the same thing because I am truly grateful. But I will take some pictures of these little projects and add those at the end of the video so you can see what everything looks like. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry makers.